Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Okay, our guest is joining us this morning from Geneva. Our own, comrade Issa Aremu, Director General, CEO of the Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies. He's on a tour of duty there, but then we did sort of track him down there. And so we have him this morning. So a fine morning to you, Comrade Issa Aremu.
Very well, my dear brother, and the global anchor. Very good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
That's in Nigeria and Africa as a whole.
Indeed.
Good to hear you.
Thank you very much. Of course, it's the urgent matter of labor, and for that matter, TUC, declaring a nationwide strike. We've been on this for quite a while. And as you know, the latest news was that the NLC president, there was some sort of mishap. And when in Imo State, it was said that he had been arrested. The police had said that, on the contrary, he was in protective custody for his own good. But the long and short, they've called an extraordinary meeting. And Labour now says that it is definitely going on strike and has added and has put out a number of things that it requires if that is to be averted. So give me, first of all, your overview of Labour going this way now, because it is said that strikes are hardly the kind of things we need at this stage of our development.
Yes, as you say, Yori, it's quite a source of concern. But what I can say is that I think the crisis was avoidable, was preventable. And I dare say that it's also not inevitable that it generates further. If all the parties, both the government of Imo State, as well as the organized labor, embrace the principle of social dialogue and collective bargaining. Nigeria is one of the leading members of International Labour Organization. So I'm here now for the 349th session of the governing board of the ILO. Our team is eminently led by the Honorable Minister of Labour, Samuel Lalong. Of course, the chairman of this session, interestingly, is also a Nigerian, our ambassador to Switzerland. Not only that, Nigeria has ratified all the core conventions of the International Labour Organizations, and the one that is applicable to our discussion here is called Convention 98. Which is the right to collective bargaining and right to freedom of association. When we ratified this as early as 1960 when we got independence, and it's been tested over the years. I mean, Yori, you've come a long way. You know that we've gotten almost 5 national minimum wages. We've signed a lot of collective agreements using the instrumentality of social dialogue and collective bargaining. I think what we are witnessing now in Imo is collapse of the system of collective bargaining, and it's on all the parties, if you ask me. And I feel quite not that comfortable because we have a new democratic dispensation. We have a president that has committed himself to not just minimum wage, but living wage. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has demonstrated capacity to negotiate with labor. If you recollect, after removal of subsidy, this government met with NLC and signed came out with very robust agreement. One of them, presidential wage award. Initially, President Bola Tinubu over 25, but after collective bargaining, it was jacked up to 35,000. And this has been paid to all federal employees. They also made commitments, to bring buses, CNG buses, which have started implementing now. They also made palliative available to all the states. So what I'm saying here is that this is a very good atmosphere for labor to engage with a government that's labor friendly at the federal level, that is committed to upliftment of the condition of the worker. So all we need to do is to take advantage of that. But unfortunately, what we witnessed in Imo, honestly, is a departure from what we normally see before. It's been a lingering issue, but there are things that could be resolved without what we are witnessing now. What we have seen in Imo is that, yes, we can disagree, but increasingly the parties are becoming disagreeable, which is not really healthy, as the case may be. So my take on that is that both organized labor, NLC, TVC, and the government of the states must return back to collective bargaining process. Nobody should engage in self-help. Absolute power, undermines process of the negotiation absolutely. What the two parties should do is to come to the negotiation table. And for the NLC, I felt quite taken aback. Don't forget that this is also my constituency. Ajaero is the 7th president of Nigeria Labour Congress. The founding president, Ajaero, followed by Alhaji Alichi Roma, who came from Medical and Health Workers Union. The third one is Pascal Bafiawu of blessed memory. Later, you have Comrade Adams Shomole. You have Comrade Umar Ayuba Waba, the immediate past president. They had engagement with government. Well, we never had this kind of, what I can see, the generation to personalization such that Ajaero was brutalized, and that's very, condemnable. That's not the way to go, whatever the reason may be. But what we need to do is to put an end to the condition that led to that. And my view on this is that I've looked at the demand, of organized labor in Imo, non-payment of salary, arrears of payment of salary, declaration of 11,000 workers as gross workers, then a couple of other demands they made. Some of these demands can be categorized into two. You're really not listening to me. They can be categorized into two. We have what we call dispute of right, dispute of interest. For dispute of right, those are things that are already settled. If you have agreement with the government to implement that. But when you have dispute of interest, you need a different approach. You need to persuade, you need to convince, you need to take all the time to get it done. So I think my suggestion is that all the parties must return back to the negotiation table. Then secondly, when we're also engaging in action, we must know the context. Context is very, very important. For us to declare action on the eve of election. Nigeria Labour Congress has invested so much in democracy because we know that the alternative to democracy is unthinkable. Military oppressed trade union movement very well. So we have interest in democracy. We're also interested in elections. So for me, when you look at the context, it's not really all that wide for you to take an action that will disrupt electoral process.
Yes.
Then lastly, is that we must negotiate in good faith. What I mean good faith here is that we must give the other party that our focus is on industrial labor issues and nothing else. And also, the NLC now and TVC we need to be more measured because we are also politically exposed. It's an open secret now that Labour is as interest in Labour Party as legitimately done that. There's a candidate also contesting in Imo State. So we must have an action that will not give the impression that we're engaging in politics through the other ways. And the way to do so is that you must contextualize your actions in a way that it doesn't miss. I think election is very, very critical. In fact, the best way to even make a difference in governance is that whoever is running for office, Labour issues from the agenda. But that's to the extent that election will take place. So what I'm trying to say here is that we can pursue industrial action without being seen to be partisan. Because once you do that, then the issue is beclouded.
And I
the
think
other party assumes.
And that is the big problem.
It's not like it's better than the other way actions. And I can give you a number of examples of similar ones we have done in the past to show that Labour is interested in policy changes, not in regime change. I hope I'm communicating here. Labour is interested, in not changing of administration. I'm talking of Labour now, as known as TVC and the NLC. So all our action was clear cut. Then we must also have our unity. As from the report I also had, I discovered that there's even a kind of division, between the State Council of the NLC and the National NLC, such that even the State Council said they are not part of the action. So if you don't have unity of action, then people will be wondering, what are we really pursuing? So all I want to say is that it's avoidable, it's preventable. As we say in Labour, an injury to one is an injury to one. I felt so pain that my dear friend from Ajaero, so vulnerable and open to this kind of, condemnable brutality. But what we need to do is that, how did we arrive at this? And
yes, exactly. That is the question. That really is, I think that really is the question on the lips of most. And quite frankly, in the past couple of days or so, people that have been calling into the program, even when it wasn't a subject matter, actually forced the issue, saying that from their point of view, Labour itself, that is the Nigeria Labour Congress, was creating issues by becoming more partisan than was expected. There is a difference, or at least people think that there should be a difference between the Nigeria Labour Congress and Labour Party, the political partisan organization. And people felt that, the perception was gleamed, that there was interference. Quite frankly, yes, that word was used, political interference. Why would Labour want to go to Imo State and picket? I believe Imo is the home state of Comrade Ajaero, the NLC president. And
so that's also part of the problem, Chief, as you are saying, because perception is very, very important in anything we do, extremely important. And engagement that we are going to go into, whether bargaining, social dialogue, should be done in good faith. Even let me also put it this way. Now, this is a state affair. Ideally, that struggle should be led by the State Council of the NLC.
Okay.
Ideally. Then secondly, as you said, as you pointed out, if the president of NLC comes from the same state, he needs to be a bit more measured so that he's not accused of conflict of interest. I know when Kobrada was NLC president, we waged a lot of struggles everywhere. I can't remember anything. There was a local issue in Edo that we go there. Engagement will only be on national issue, but not that it goes there, because the job of the State Council is to drive the agenda. It's when they cannot resolve it that the national comes in. And the national comes as an arbiter, not even as a direct engagement. I also saw the communique that has been signed on all these issues. They are signed by the president of the Congress. So if you are from the state, then the issue become more localized. And as I said, within the political context, your readers say that every politics is local. And if it is local, then you need to be careful that you have to make sure that the labor issues are also handled locally in such a way that you are not really responsible. But the way forward now, if you ask me, is that we have to improve on more labor education for all the actors in industrial relations. That's where the mandate by institute comes in. Michael National Institute for Labor Studies.
Exactly. But, that is smack in the middle of your mandate,
But it was commissioned in 1983, by the late President Phil Shagari. It was part of the third development plan. And the whole idea is that just as you have Institute for Administrative Studies in Badagry, you have CMD, there, building capacity for top administrators, you could also have similar one for the workers. So there'll be a capacity on how to handle grievances, how to do collective bargaining. It was in 1993 that the former military president honored Labour to name it after number one Labour man, like Kelly Modi. So we have a mandate to promote education over the years, so that all the parties, employers, including state government and Labour, will know how to handle grievances, collective bargaining. They should know the processes. In the case of Imo, even when you have disputes that you cannot resolve, we have Federal Ministry of Labour. But Labour is also on the exclusive list. It's not actually a state affair. So Ministry of Labour, the Minister of Labour should be the one to apprehend the case, mediate. If he could not solve it, he goes to what we call Industrial Arbitration Panel,
Okay.
IAP. There's also then you have the NLC. So we have time-tested processes to follow, but that requires knowledge and education for us to use them. And it's never late. Even those that are educated before, from what you have seen in Imo, I think we need to constantly remind ourselves of the way to resolve problems in the world of work without turning the world of work to warfare zone, as we are witnessing now. No party to engage in self-help, whether it is government or it is the Labour.
Okay, comrade. One moment, please. Let me bring on David, calling in from Mowe. Good morning, David. David, can you hear us? David in Mowe. Well,
all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for learning.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I just want to make a comment. Thank you very much. I think the issue concerning Labour going on strike is really unfortunate. Everybody knows where Ajaero stands. He's a member of Labour Party. There's no doubt about that. Yes.
But he's not declared. He's not a declared member of Labour Party, as you allege, unless you have information to the contrary.
When the Labour Party and the federal government had an agreement, but Ajaero said that after 1 month they were going to meet again, and he said that everything must be concluded.
Okay. We lost that caller, but I'm told that our correspondent in Imo is actually standing by. And, well, we were on this whole matter. Bad message. I've just been told that was a mistaken message. So if our guest is still there, again, you see, these are matters of perception, Comrade Aremu. That caller said flatly, even though I hadn't heard of any particular declaration to that effect, one would have loved to be able to see Joe Ajaero as the Nigeria Labour Congress president, separate at all, and altogether from anything to do with the partisan, the political party, Labour Party. But these are part of the challenges, and you are speaking to this particular matter of education is going to be invaluable in how we manage ourselves within the parameters and labor best practices around the globe.
Yeah, I mean, Yori, I think, from the last caller, that also tells you the imperative of more labor education and more of it. I'm raising this point because perception matters. And I think, that's my background from the labor movement, and proudly so. We must make sure that we have a perception that we are pursuing interests of the workers other than any other interests. And I think we need self-assessment, especially my colleagues who are in the labor movement. Let me also give you an example, and this has caused ripple within the labor movement. The last May Day, which we had this year, it came after the election, and the president-elect has been announced, which is president in waiting, who Labour ordinarily would like to engage in.
Yes.
But many comrades were surprised and they were alarmed that we don't even we give visibility to Peter Obi, who came from a Labour Party. And he wasn't even a winner. But you could invite him. But what you need to give preference to is the government, the president in waiting that is expected to be there. Even the Minister of Labour, former Minister of Labour in Gigetu was also surprised, along with that kind of argument. So you must be seen, you can be political, but you can't be too openly partisan, because once you do so, once any government, when government also see you in that light, then it beclouds the need to resolve labor issues. We've all the founding fathers of NLC and also mothers, if you want to put it away, they have their partisan interests. In the Second Republic, some may be in MPN, some may be in UPN, some may even be in PRP. But as you said, when you talk of Hassan Sumanu, he was the president of NLC. He stood ground for labor issues, unambiguously. You talk of Alichi Roma, he was also one. And even when we later formed Labour Party, when Omar was there, when Comrada was also there, we make sure that we separate labor issues from
exactly.
That's why we have the NLC, what they call the political commission, which handles that. Then you have the party itself, which is, it has its own organs, it has its own, let them do their job. But when it comes to labor issues, core labor issues, we must come with a clear heart that we are open to only labor issues. But all this requires constant education. And I think... and
maybe training and retraining as well. Let me bring on Mr. George, who has called in from Lagos. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. And good morning to Mr. Aremu.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, you see, I was saying yesterday, you can hear what Mr. Aremu is saying. He is a more labor man. He has been in the labor industry for a very long time, and you can see what he's saying. There's a whole lot of difference between labor unionism and what Mr. Ajaero is doing, guising up with the cloak of labor. I don't need to repeat everything Mr. Aremu has already said.
Yes, but because he is coming from, he's the DG and CEO of the Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies. So that's
yes, but before that, I think he was the deputy president of the NLC.
That's right.
Point. Yes, and for many years, for that matter. So you can see that what he's saying now corresponds with what I was saying yesterday. Mr. Ajaero is carrying out a personal agenda. There is no country where you just operate outside the laws, unless that is a banana republic. The way and manner the NLC is going about its things in Nigeria today, the government must step in. Otherwise,
speak to the process.
The intention is to use labor. We know some of the people behind them. The intention is to use labor to cripple this government. And it must not be allowed. Everybody will be involved if that is allowed. Why would you go to a state where there is a state chapter, and that state chapter is saying we are comfortable with the way our issues are being resolved? You came crying more than the bereaved from outside. Say, no, I want to cry more than you. You are not comfortable. How is it? It's just causing trouble. And now, I want to ask Mr. Aremu, if a state chapter has issue with the state government, does it warranty a national strike like Ajaero and his colleagues are trying to do now? I want him to please clarify that issue. I am of the opinion that the government should prescribe NLC if it is being converted for personal witch hunting and to bring down the government. We have a country to fix, and we cannot degenerate to this level by those who want to sabotage it.
Okay, Mr. George. Let's allow Comrade Aremu to respond. Thank you very much, Mr. George. George wants to know that should we be declaring a national strike based on the parameters we are considering now?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, strike is a fundamental right of workers, in the world of work. And it's also recognized by international labor organizations. Why do you engage in strike? Is because employers of labor or government do not want to listen to you. They don't respect agreement, and then you call for social dialogue. They don't listen. So one way you can do so is to withdraw your sides as workforce. But to exercise right, it has to be for labor issues. That's the point I'm raising. Of course, you can also engage in strikes that do not deal with core labor issue, but it must be clear all the options you are engaging in. They all have consequences. But the whole idea of strike is for you to put pressure so that you get justice in the world of work, as the case may be. I've said so. There's nothing bad to give solidarity to workers in the state, even in local governments, because the principal labor movement is an injury to one is an injury to all. But in do so, you must be clear, that you carry all the parties along. First, you must have your house to be in order. In the case of Imo, the soundbite I'm hearing is that even the state council of the NLC, the workers at the state, they don't want to have total shutdown of the state to pursue their demand. So what would be the source of the strength of the nation, of NLC, at the national level? Because as we can't be more holier than those people who feel the impact. Then secondly, you must also contextualize to make sure that you carry your action in a way that you are not misunderstood. You don't promote conspiracy theory that is an attempt to undermine the state government, because we are also politically exposed. So this requires a lot of sagacity to get it done. But for me, the solution is not to clamp down on labor. The solution is to make sure that all the parties involved are to dialogue. We should not weaponize labor disputes. Government itself should not weaponize that, to use a cover of crisis to brutalize NLC president as our witness. So also, labor cannot weaponize labor issues, to pursue an agenda which some perceive to be political, and I think it's important that all the parties come to this realization. But the last one I also want to say is that let all the parties have an eye on the ball. And what is the ball? How do we defend the interests of the workforce?
All right.
It's important to do so. In the case of Imo, just like many parts of the state, we're having crisis of compensation, low pay, insecurity of job, what we call it, there's no decent work, which ILO is talking of. Now, how do we get out of it? I think we need partnership with the employers as well as government to do so. And interestingly, I've said so before, Yori, that labor has a better ally in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If you look at this 8-point agenda, at the mainstream to it is job creation, decent work. He also made the point that he will not only pay minimum wage, he will pay, a living wage. Part of the agreement which they enter with labor is that there will be presidential committee on the new minimum wage, which will be meeting next year. They've started constituting it. The presidential wage award has been paid. This government also know the importance of trade unions. Bola Ahmed came from he came from a democratic tradition, struggling for democracy. So there is a better ally, but we need an approach that is not partisan. We need an approach that is pragmatic.
Comrade Aremu, we're going to have to leave it there.
And then we can come together to address the issue at hand.
Thank you very much, comrade. That's a fine place to leave it. I'm sorry if I'm jumping into the middle of your sentences, but we've run out of time. And I want to thank you very much, Comrade Issa Aremu, Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Imodu National Institute for Labor Studies, joining us today from Geneva, where he's on a tour of duty. Thank you very much for your time, comrade. Okay.